kind of mind-blowing when you realize a food you think of as super healthy, well, it might have a flip side, right?
Mm.
Take salmon. We're constantly hearing about its amazing omega-3s, the glowy skin it supposedly gives you. But what if there was more to the story?
Yeah.
We've dug into an eye-opening article from ASUSA, and it reveals a surprising duality about this very popular fish.
That's absolutely right. Salmon has, earned its reputation as a nutritional powerhouse, and for good reason.
Oh, definitely.
However, this deep dive is about giving you the full picture, drawing on this detailed report. We're going to explore everything from, the microscopic life that naturally coexists with salmon,
Wow.
to the ins and outs of fish farming and the real nutritional differences you see when you compare wild and farmed varieties.
Okay.
Our goal is to cut through the noise and help you, the listener, understand the key aspects of what you're actually getting when you choose salmon.
Okay, so let's get straight to it then. One of the first things that jumped out at me from this article was the claim that wild salmon naturally plays host to over 70 different parasites.
70. That sounds, intense.
Uh-huh.
What's the deal with that?
Well, what's fascinating here is how intertwined this is with the salmon's natural life cycle. Early in their lives, many salmon species inhabit coastal waters.
Right, near the shore.
Exactly. And these environments are also home to various marine mammals, and unfortunately, these mammals are part of the life cycle for a number of parasites that can then transfer to the young salmon.
Oh, I see.
So it's really a natural occurrence within that specific ecosystem.
Wow. Nature can be pretty wild. Okay, now the article then pivots to farmed salmon. And this seems to be where some of the more significant concerns arise. It discusses the conditions within aquaculture facilities. What were your key takeaways on that front?
Yeah, a major point is the diet of farmed salmon. Unlike their wild counterparts, they're fed a processed food that typically includes fish meal and various chemical additives.
Processed food. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of, modern food production, this kind of formulated feed isn't unique to fish farming.
True.
However, when you're making a conscious choice about what to eat, understanding what your food ate becomes pretty relevant. Essentially, because farmed salmon are fed this processed diet, you're looking at a nutritional profile potentially skewed towards less beneficial fats compared to what they'd eat in the wild.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Their diet would impact what ends up in the fish itself. And the article also mentions the routine use of pesticides and antibiotics in these farms. That's a bit worrying from a consumer perspective, isn't it?
It certainly raises questions. The reality in aquaculture is that in these densely populated environments, disease can spread rapidly.
Like any crowded space, I suppose.
Precisely. Therefore, antibiotics are often used to prevent or treat bacterial infections. Similarly, pesticides are employed to control issues like sea lice, which can be a significant problem in these close quarters conditions.
Sea lice, right.
The concern, of course, is the potential for residues of these substances to remain in the fish. This raises an important question about the potential long-term effects for us, when we consume fish that have been exposed to these treatments.
And this detail really stood out to me. The article mentions that workers in these fish farms often have to wear protective suits because they use toxic substances to keep the pools clean. That paints a pretty stark picture of the environment these fish are living in.
It does. There's a certain irony here, as the article points out. Chemicals intended to maintain hygiene and prevent disease in the fish pens might inadvertently introduce other concerns for the end consumer.
Right.
It prompts you to consider the unseen aspects of how our food is produced and the potential trade-offs involved in industrial-scale aquaculture.
Absolutely. So, to help us make sense of all this, the article draws a clear line between wild and farmed salmon. What are most important distinctions for us to keep in mind?
Well, the most fundamental difference comes down to their diets, really.
Yeah.
Wild salmon have a natural and varied diet.
Bugs, smaller fish.
Exactly. Which contributes to their leaner physique and a more balanced spectrum of nutrients. Farmed salmon, with their formulated feed, tend to accumulate more fat.
Okay.
And can have a higher concentration of certain elements from their feed and the farm environment. So with all these potential downsides of farmed salmon, it makes you wonder, how does that compare to wild salmon, according to the article?
And the calorie difference is quite striking, isn't it? The article points out that farmed salmon, which is often what you find in your local grocery store, can clock in around 212 calories per 100 grams.
Yeah.
Whereas wild salmon is closer to 115 calories for the same serving size. That's a significant disparity.
It is. That calorie difference really underscores the different fat content. Farm salmon often has a higher percentage of total fat, and the type of fat can also differ due to their diet.
Oh, okay.
This has implications not just for calorie counting, but also for the overall nutritional value.
Okay, so we've covered some of the potential downsides, but it's crucial to remember why salmon is so popular in the first place, its well-known health benefits. The article does a good job of highlighting these two, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. It's important to maintain a balanced perspective. Salmon, both wild and farmed, is an excellent source of high-quality protein and essential minerals,
Right.
like iodine, which is vital for thyroid function, magnesium for muscle and nerve function, phosphorus for bone health, selenium as an antioxidant, and iron and calcium for various bodily processes.
Lots of good stuff.
Yeah, these contribute significantly to why salmon is often recommended as part of a healthy diet.
And it's also a vitamin powerhouse, if I remember correctly. The article mentions vitamins that are important for both thyroid and gut health.
Precisely. Salmon is a good source of various B vitamins, which play crucial roles in energy production and nerve function. Furthermore, it's a notable source of vitamin D,
Very important, vitamin D.
which, as we know, is critical for calcium absorption and maintaining strong bones. This further solidifies its place as a nutrient-dense food.
I was also intrigued by the potential skin benefits mentioned in the article. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, what's interesting here is the suggestion that certain compounds in salmon might help combat some skin conditions and even offer a degree of protection against skin cancer.
Oh, interesting.
Although more research is always ongoing in these areas, of course. Additionally, the anti-inflammatory properties of omega-3 fatty acids, which salmon is rich in,
The famous omega-3s.
they may contribute to slowing down the visible signs of skin aging.
So it seems that despite the concerns we've discussed, the high levels of omega-3 fatty acids in salmon remain a major driving force behind its popularity.
That's absolutely the case. The article acknowledges that the significant omega-3 content is a primary reason why many people choose to include salmon in their diets, given their well-established benefits for heart health and reducing inflammation.
Now, for listeners who might be feeling a bit conflicted after hearing about the potential downsides, the article does offer a suggestion for an alternative, right?
Yes, it does. The experts cited in the article propose considering other oily fish, like sardines.
Sardines, okay.
Sardines are also packed with beneficial omega-3 fatty acids, but being smaller and lower on the food chain, they may accumulate fewer of the contaminants that can be a concern with larger fish, like, well, farmed salmon.
That makes sense.
It's about being aware of your options and making informed choices based on the information available.
So to bring it all together, it sounds like our deep dive into this As USA article paints a pretty nuanced picture of salmon. It's undoubtedly a nutrient-rich food with significant health advantages, particularly due to its omega-3 content.
Definitely.
However, we also need to be aware of the potential downsides related to naturally occurring parasites and, perhaps more importantly, the practices employed in fish farming,
Right.
especially when we draw that comparison with wild salmon. The choice between wild and farmed appears to be a significant factor.
Exactly. The distinction between how the salmon lived and what it ate has a direct impact on its nutritional profile and the potential presence of contaminants. While salmon offers valuable health benefits, this information encourages us to think more critically about its origins and, to consider the broader implications of our food choices.
This has definitely given me, and hopefully you, our listeners, a lot to consider. Given these contrasting points, the undeniable health benefits on one hand, and the potential risks associated with parasites and certain farming practices on the other, how might this information shape your decisions when you next think about buying or ordering salmon?
Yeah, it's a good question to ponder.
It's a fascinating intersection of health, ecology, and food production.
Yeah.
Definitely something worth keeping in mind.